Hi everyone, Stepan here. I'm going to continue covering the games from the Barcelona Open. Played this August, so 2 months ago. In round 1 I lost to a FIDE master, and I lost because I visualized the position incorrectly, set a trap that turned out not to be a trap. You can see that in the previous video. In round 2 I got paired against a 2080 rated opponent. I was going to play the Caro-Kann if he plays e4, so I started to prepare from there. He does play e4, and he did in this game as well. We have c6, d4, d5. Now, of course, there are several things he could have played, and I was preparing for several different things, but he went for the classical with knight c3. Okay, and after d, knight e, I went for the Karpov. Also known as the Smyslov variation. Now, this variation, and I'd given it a lot of thought in the last 3 or 4 months, having played it a dozen times in tournament games. I always preferred it to bishop f5, and obviously I think it's much better than the knight f6, either the Korchnoi or the Brunstill Larsen. But here are 2 issues I have with this variation, and if you play it, if you play e4, then you may be facing this. There are 2 possible bad scenarios for black. One of them is a completely equal position, and the other one is a very sharp position if white chooses to play the main lines with bishop d3, knight g5, or bishop c4, knight g5, in which I believe that black is struggling to equalize. Not that it's impossible to equalize, but once you do, the position becomes sort of loose for black. And in many games I found myself in a theoretical position where I think I'm worse, practically speaking. So yeah, don't want to dwell too much into the Karpov, into the philosophy behind the Karpov variation, but I've had some trouble with it. And as I said, the first bad scenario, having an equal position, is what white can choose to do straight away without any issues, which is what my opponent tried to do in this game, which is why I'm telling you all this. He played knight to f3, which isn't one of the most active moves. Usually bishop c4, bishop d3, or knight g5 are the main lines and the sharpest ways to play. I went knight gf6. Now, one line which I like for white is knight takes knight e5, where black has to be very careful. The only move basically to go for immediate equality is bishop to e6, where at least you are forced to play outside of your Caro-Kann comfort zone without a pawn on e6. But my opponent played knight g3, and now from this position, e6 is the only move, the only sensible move, bishop to d3. And funnily enough, this is a position I've been studying a lot before Scholta and Barcelona. So before I started playing tournaments in a row. And if you look at Karpov games or Michael Adams games or all the master players from the 80s and 90s, even late 70s, c5 is the main move here. A million games. c5 is by far the most popular move here. And I know the move, I know the variation, but I know that I don't like the positions. And here's the problem. After castles, cd4, knight d4, bishop c5, everything normal. Knight to b3, the bishop has to retreat back to e7. And now simply rook e1, castles, and queen to f3. And I really am struggling with this position. The main move here is a5, but I find the positions extremely uncomfortable for black, which is why I chose not to go for this. There is a more modern way to play this position, which I did here, and that's to play bishop e7 first, white castles, black castles, and now white's main move is queen to e2, which is okay. My opponent went for the second most popular b3, and now I'm getting the sort of position I want, because there is no knight b3 options, and you can play c5 now. And basically the idea is after either c4 or bishop b2, you want to play b6, bishop b7. So c4, b6, bishop b2, bishop b7. This is now a position that's seemingly completely equal, but it should be slightly better for black, at least in my opinion. The engine says completely equal. But here I think black has better chances. Why? Because you're going to develop your rooks normally to e8, d8 or d8, c8, depending on what white does. You have the option of taking on d4, sometimes with the loose bishop on d3. And if white ever takes on c5, then you get very good bishops looking at white's king. So this I was happy with. This is what I wanted to get. My opponent played rook e1. I played rook e8, which may be slightly imprecise, but I really want to be able to move my queen without d5 and my bishop being loose. And here he made a mistake. He went knight e5. I didn't use the mistake, unfortunately, because I had this mindset of, okay, the position is equal, let's just keep it that way. Maybe he makes a mistake. And so much so that I didn't notice a mistake being played. Not only that, but I didn't even consider the punishing line. The way to punish this, of course, is to take on d4, which is something you don't normally do. And c takes d4, bishop d4, of course, is the only move. And now knight e5. And if he takes with the rook, I take the bishop. Well, yeah, I take the bishop. I think. Can I take the bishop? I was only looking at bishop e5. Let's look at rook e5. I'm not really sure if I can take or not. I'm not sure. I've made mistakes in videos before, so I'm just going to turn on the engine for this one because it's... Of course, there's bishop h7, but I may have enough. Let's see. Okay, no, you don't take. Okay. Yeah, okay, just queen d7 or queen d6. Okay, I was only considering taking with the bishop because I thought bishop h7 is nothing. Okay. Now queen c8, bishop c3, and rook d8. Okay. And this should be enough. But yeah, let me just show you what I prepared and thought about. And that was bishop takes. And now the point is bishop b4. Gaining a tempo on the rook. If he stays on the e file, for example, rook to e2 or rook e3, then I can go knight g4. And after the bishop retreats to d4, now I can go f5. And this seems to be a way for black to play for an advantage. I'm going to say that I can understand why I didn't see it during the game. It seems like a very inhuman way to play, playing f5, playing knight g4, weakening e6. I mean, it never occurred to me. I wish it did, but it didn't. Instead of that, I played queen c7, which is what I'd planned. I want to get my rook to d8, my bishop is now defended, and I was happy with this. Here he took on d7, and again, I can exploit this move easily. And again, I didn't. Coming back to the original thought that this position often leads to equality, having that mindset of playing an equal position is just wrong. I mean, my opponent is higher rated than me, but I wanted to win. And I was going to play for a win. But I kept thinking that the position is equal, therefore missing the chances when they occurred to go for an advantage. So he gave me several opportunities. The first one was after knight e5. The second one is here. I recaptured with the knight, which is just a mistake. Firstly, misplacing my knight, but I wanted to get my knight to f8 to not hang bishop f6 and queen h7 in some positions. And I didn't even consider queen takes because I was already planning to go rook d8. So I saw no point in blocking the d file with my queen. But after queen takes, his pawn is hanging. So he has to do something, either move the bishop away or take dc5. After dc5, I don't have to recapture. I can just play my rook to d8, either rook, probably e8 to d8 because this one belongs on c8. Now the bishop has to move. Okay, so the bishop moves away. I take on c5. Let's say he trades queens, and I'm simply controlling the d file with two excellent bishops. Why didn't I go for this? Why didn't it even occur to me? I think my explanation stands. I think that's the reason. I didn't even try to go for an advantage, but yeah, this would have been very pleasant. And I'm not saying black is winning. I'm saying black is slightly better. I have the d-file and I have two better bishops. So for example, something like this happens. This is a good position. But after knight d7, as I said, I played knight takes, and I was going to play rook a8 and knight f8. Queen h5, which doesn't really do much. I want to go g6 anyway, because maybe my bishop is going to be useful here or here. But the queen retreats back to e2, rook a d8, finishing my plan, and now bishop e4. And trading of the light squared bishops, I think should be good for me, or better for me. Although I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe it's just an equal trade. I took on d4 now. And after bishop d4, I played knight f6. This attacks the bishop on e4 as well. So he has to do something. He played bishop to c3 and gave me the opportunity to grab the bishop pair, which I was really happy to do. So yeah, bishop e4, if it's traded, is equal, but yeah, should be a mistake because of cd4, bishop d4, and knight f6. Obviously, if he takes on f6, then I'm better. If he plays bishop c3, I should also be better because of knight e4. Okay, knight takes e4, and here, again, for the third time, I missed my opportunity to go for an advantage or to capitalize on my advantage, because here I already should be better with the bishop pair. And again, I didn't even consider the continuation, which is just great. Why? Because again, I didn't want to weaken my position. In this position, I played queen f4, which made a lot of sense to me. E5 is an excellent move. Again, I didn't even think about it. So for example, he plays rook d1 and I play f5. And now once these trades happen and the knight goes to g3, I can just slowly build my position. This knight is out of play. Best case, it comes back to e3. If he takes on e5, winning a pawn, then queen c6, and f3 should be very bad because of bishop c5. If queen f1, then bishop to b4, and all of my pieces are very active. My rook can come to d2. This seems very dangerous for black. Again, this didn't even occur to me. I played queen f4, which seemed to make a lot of sense. And here he played knight g3. Now, for the fourth time, I didn't use my opportunity. My opponent made 4 mistakes and gave me the opportunity to try and win. I didn't use any of them. Fortunately for me, I only made mistakes which didn't get more of an advantage. I never risked being worse. Here, I have no explanation for why I didn't go for the best continuation, because I did see it, I did calculate it, I thought it was good, but then I thought to myself, okay, let's get rid of the risk first, let's just make sure you don't lose before you try to win, which is wrong. I mean, if I were playing someone lower rated than me, I definitely would have gone for that. Again, my problem of not treating all of my opponents equally, which hopefully I've changed by now. This was 2 months ago. So the best way to play is obviously just h5. I mean, this knight is misplaced on g3, followed by queen g5 and pressure on g2. So for example, knight f1, queen g5. How does he get out of this? If he plays knight e3, then I go bishop c5. And I saw this position and I thought, okay, well, maybe he goes b4. And after I take, he takes with the pawn, the queen defends g2. What's this position? My dark squares are weak, this bishop is a monster, maybe I could lose later on. Obviously this is a great position for black. White has nothing on the dark squares, and I can blockade on e4 with my bishop. Get my rook to d3 if he does nothing. Monstrous position. Or if after h5 he goes rook d1, I just go h4. Yeah, here if he... here I was looking at bishop e5 actually. And after bishop e5, queen g5, he can now play f4, which maybe holds, black should still be better. In any case, black should be better in all variations, probably winning in most of them. Instead of that, I wanted to secure my king first, and I played bishop f6, which is a cowardly move. f6, I mean, it's not a bad move. It's a good strategic trade, I think, because my dark squares are weak. But it just gives up on the opportunity to play for a win. So, okay, bishop f6, queen f6, he played rook d1. And now, unfortunately, the same variations don't really work. In most cases, I cannot go h5 and queen g5, because there will be pressure on d8. My queen will have to keep defending. So I took on d1, takes, and I played rook d8, which... this is now just a draw, obviously. Knight f1, I played h5, offered the draw, and he accepted. There's basically nothing to play for here, because if I ever go queen g5, he just trades on d8. Yeah, I mean, I have to say that I'm really unhappy with how I played this game, especially in hindsight. Out of the several opportunities that I missed to try and win, most of them I didn't even see. Not that they were hard to see, I just didn't even look for something to play for an advantage. And the one I did see, I discarded, even though when you look at it, there's no downside. There's just no downside. I discarded it because of some irrational fear of dark squares. Just yeah. So yeah, the game was a draw. I think I could have won this game had I played bravely. But a draw is definitely deserved because I didn't. So yeah, I didn't try to win, so I didn't win. Okay, I hope you got something from this game. Sorry about my rant on the Karpov Caro-Kann, but it's a variation I'm struggling with both over the board and philosophically while not playing. I'm still studying it. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more chess. Bye bye.